FM in Winnipeg.
Breaking news happens anywhere, anytime.
Police have warned the protesters repeatedly, get back.
CBC News brings the story to you as it happens.
Hundreds of wildfires are burning.
Be the first to know what's going on and what that means for you and for Canadians.
This situation has changed very quickly.
Helping make sense of the
This is CBC News. At 12 o'clock, we're at minus 14 with sunny skies over downtown Winnipeg. Good afternoon. I'm Matt Humphrey. Winnipeggers out shopping for the holidays can expect to see more police officers. They'll be patrolling over the next few weeks in malls and big box stores. Inspector for Jennifer McKinnon says last Christmas, police did a covert retail operation, and this year they've changed their tactics. McKinnon says making more officers more visible will help with enforcement.
But with an emphasis on visible presence. We want you to come out. We want you to enjoy shopping. You need to get those gifts under your trees, and we want our officers to be out. We want them to be present. We want you to see them, and we want you to feel safe.
McKinnon says the increased police presence will generally be from Thursday to Sunday when more shoppers are out. She says Crime Stoppers will also be releasing a list of the worst retail thieves in Winnipeg. Manitoba's health minister believes people who live near a proposed safe consumption site in Winnipeg are open to it being there. Health Canada lists 200 Disraeli Freeway as the proposed location for the site to be operated by the Aboriginal Health and Wellness Centre. Health Minister Uzoma Asseguera says the site makes sense because a number of agencies are operating nearby, along with health services and paramedics, and they believe the community supports it.
I think people are actually really excited that there's action finally being taken to make sure that those who are struggling with addictions and struggling maybe with acute health issues that can't get their needs met elsewhere are finally going to have their needs met in one location that's going to have dedicated teams and dedicated resources right there for them.
Asseguera says in order to help people, they have to provide services where they are. Health Canada has yet to approve the application and give it an exemption. The province says it's trying to rein in the number of private for-profit nursing agencies. It has issued a request for proposals to limit the number of agencies who can have contracts with Manitoba health authorities. The health minister says as many as 70 agencies are operating in the province right now with little regulation. Manitoba Nurses Union head Darlene Jackson says they're siphoning nurses away from the public system.
For too long, we've seen resources drained into private for-profit agencies, money that could be far better invested in strengthening our public healthcare system. Redirecting these funds into our public healthcare system supports nurses in permanent positions within the public system.
Jackson says in the last fiscal year, the province spent more than $77 million on private nurses. She says that's a 40% increase over the previous year. Dozens of people are signed up to speak at City Hall about a proposal to lower the speed limit on Wellington Crescent. The CBC's Cameron McLean has your details.
Last week, the Public Works Committee voted to reduce the speed on a section of Wellington Crescent to 30 kilometers per hour. The lower speed would extend from River Avenue past where Wellington runs under Kenaston Boulevard and ends at Academy Road. The push to reduce the speed followed the death of cyclist Rob Jenner. A driver going more than 150 kilometers per hour hit and killed Jenner in June. Residents and cycling advocates have told councillors too many drivers drive too fast down the street. The lower speed would remain in effect until a separated bike lane is built. River Heights Fort Garry councillor John Orlico has raised concerns about council changing speed limits without doing a traffic study. The Executive Policy Committee will vote today on the motion. It still needs a final vote from council. Cameron McLean, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Police in New York City are on the hunt for a killer. The victim was a health insurance executive. United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson was shot dead outside a Manhattan hotel early this morning. Police say the shooter was laying in wait. The hotel's in a busy tourist area near Rockefeller Center, where the annual tree lighting is set to happen tonight. And that has law enforcement officials trying to reassure tourists. Here's Police Commissioner Jessica Titch.
At this time, every indication is that this was a premeditated, pre-planned, targeted attack. Millions of people will be enjoying the tree lighting among other holiday events, and the NYPD will be out there with them, keeping them safe.
Investigators don't have a motive yet. Thompson was in New York to speak at the company's annual meeting. That conference is now canceled. And Georgia's prime minister is defending the crackdown on that country's opposition parties. That's Iraqi Kabod Kidsi, saying the police action is aimed at preventing violence and not imposing oppression. Masked officers have raided several organizations and arrested the leader of one of the opposition parties. The prime minister claims, without providing proof, the opposition supplied fireworks to protesters outside Parliament. Thousands of people have gathered there nightly for almost a week now. They're protesting against the government's decision to freeze talks on joining the European Union. And that is your CBC News from Winnipeg. For news anytime, you can head to our website, cbc.ca/Manitoba, or you can use the CBC News app. Taking a look at the forecast for the afternoon ahead, in Winnipeg, we're seeing blowing snow at times. We have a blowing snow advisory. Very windy with a mix of sun and cloud and a high of -14 today, a chance of flurries. Brandon, a chance of flurries as well, a high of -16 with blowing snow in the Wheat City. Dauphin, a mix of sun and cloud and windy, a high around -14. Flin Flon, mainly sunny, a high of -17. Thompson, a mix of sun and cloud, a high of -19. And in Churchill, blowing snow, windy, temperatures to -24.
Good afternoon, Manitoba. You're listening to Radio Noon on CBC Radio 1, 89.3 FM in Winnipeg, 97.9 FM in Brandon, 100.9 FM in Thompson. I'm Emily Brast, your host today on Radio Noon. Here's what's coming up on the show. First responders with the Taché Fire Department have a new tool in their kit for emergencies. A new sensory kit will help in calls involving neurodivergent people. Did you know you might have an unclaimed pension sitting with a previous employer somewhere and they just can't reach you to pay it out? A new report says it's a significant issue, so we'll answer your questions on how to track it down during our call-in conversation. But first, it's week 3 of the strike at Canada Post. How's it affecting businesses in Manitoba? We'll check in with a business owner in Brandon. 12:07 right now, and you are listening to Radio Noon. The strike at Canada Post is now into its 3rd week. Letters and packages have been at a standstill since November 15th, when tens of thousands of mail carriers walked off the job. For a lot of businesses, the shutdown comes right in the middle of what's usually the most important time of the year for shipping and sales. Joining us now is Morgan James, owner of Leatherwood Custom Workwear, which is based in Brandon. Hi, Morgan.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. Thanks for joining us. Can you start by describing your business?
Yeah, we are what most people think of when they think of a custom hat, embroidery, T-shirt printing kind of business. We do all that stuff. We are essentially all online, though. So we ship all over Canada, and we provide free shipping in every order. So we're shipping from anywhere, Vancouver to Halifax. We're shipping all over all the time.
Yeah. And meanwhile, it's week 3 of the postal strike. How is that affecting your business?
Well, like up until this strike, Canada Post has been like a major, crucial part of our business. Ever since we started in my basement, we've been shipping with Canada Post every day. Now, I mean, things are crazy. It's changed a lot over the last few weeks.
Yeah, because I think you offer free shipping. Like, how does that affect your, right now when you're coming up to Christmas, how does that affect you?
I mean, yeah, like a lot of other business, this is the busiest time of the year for us, right? And our shipping costs changing when we offer free shipping is a kick in the gut. Generally, we're seeing like on average, I would say 25% increase in our shipping costs, but we have a lot of rural customers, and they're costing us triple, quadruple what we usually pay. Like we're taking $150 out of pocket on orders to cover for them.
Wow. Yeah, explain that. Like, why are rural orders, and in fact, you had an order to the north that you found out was more expensive to ship than usual. Tell us what happened with that.
Yeah, I mean, couriers, they like to ship to high density areas, and the prices there are really pretty comparable. But when you're talking about shipping out to rural customers, I mean, Canada Post is kind of the only option that's reasonably priced. So we've always dealt with Canada Post up until this strike for that reason. I mean, we have a lot of rural customers, and they're getting all their mail from Canada Post.
And so, how are you shipping your stuff now? Like, tell us how you chose your courier and how you got ready for the strike.
Well, yeah, like when Canada Post was sending out regular updates that kind of let us know this was going to be happening. So we brought our, early on in the process, we brought our management team together and made the decision to switch to UPS. It just has really good access from our website to be able to ship all the orders that we usually do. So we switched to UPS before the strike took effect so that we could not end up with a bunch of mail stuck in limbo. So we've been using them for, I don't know, 5-6 weeks now, and it is going excellent.
Except maybe when all of a sudden you have something to ship to the Northwest Territories, right?
Yes.
Tell us that story.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, especially for the older orders, I mean, nobody knew this was going to happen when they were placing their orders. So we had 3 or 4 pretty big boxes to ship to the Northwest Territories, and our shipping costs on that went from somewhere in the $60 range to somewhere in the $250 range. And nobody had anticipated that was going to happen.
Wow. And so how are you breaking this kind of news to your customers, and how are they taking it?
As much as we possibly can, we are just keeping it to ourselves. We're just kind of swallowing the shipping cost. They didn't expect it, neither did we. It's not fair to put the cost onto them. And I mean, at the end of the day, we're doing this for them, right? So we're just stomaching it anytime we can. In situations like with that order, we kind of split the cost with them because that was just insane, the difference in price. But we get calls from customers, emails every day, like whether they've already placed an order or they want to place an order, they are very concerned about this strike. The stuff that we make is ultimately gifts, whether you're gifting it to your employees or your family members or your customers, whatever. It's gifts, and Christmas time is gift time. So people are really, our customers are really on edge about this, as I'm sure, everybody else is too.
So you're probably having to take a lot more calls, answer a lot more emails as well. And you mentioned too that you get a lot of orders from rural areas. Like, how are they getting their packages? Do you just have to cancel those orders, like because UPS doesn't go there, or how does that work?
If they don't have a family member that has, like a lot of these rural areas are PO boxes, if it has to go to a PO box, they're just stuck. They're not getting any mail of any kind, right? Like the timing of this strike, they've leveraged this suffering of our customers and all other businesses across Canada. And it's causing massive losses for everybody. But they knew what they were doing when they chose this time to strike. So,
how much money do you think your business has lost since the strike began?
Oh, I would. It's very, very difficult to say, but I would guess at least 10,000.
And for a business like yours out in Brandon, that's got to hurt, right? How do you think it's going to affect your business if it keeps going?
You know what? We've actually been so blessed. We made that strategic decision to switch to UPS, and they have taken incredibly good care of us. Our packages are getting where they need to go. They're helping us out anytime they can, and so really, this strike is going to cease to affect me because we have kind of made the decision to never go back. So,
really, so when the strike ends, you're not going to deal with Canada Post anymore?
Yeah, there's specific situations where you have to. There's no way around that. But our local couriers they're backing us up. they're taking care of us. They're keeping our customers happy and helping us out of a jam. I mean, I'm not going to turn around and go back to the people that have done us wrong. You know what I mean?
Because I guess you still have to use them somewhat, though, like for those northern and PO box kind of deliveries. But in general, you've noticed a difference in the quality of service?
Oh, it's absolutely incredible, the difference in quality of service. Like we've had a long list of disagreements with Canada Post because we're a basically strictly shipping business. We interface with them every day, and they don't have the motivation or the means to help us when we're in a bind. And I've stood outside a post office like 1 minute after mail cut off with an armload of boxes and been turned away. And I've called UPS on 5 minutes notice to come and grab a package out of Winnipeg for us, and they do it hands down. They're happy to do it. They show up with a smile. It's incredible. So.
Wow. And so, given all that competition that Canada Post has right now, what do you think about it still not reaching a deal with the union at this point?
It just feels to me like both sides are way off. Canada Post is kind of a dinosaur at this point. They've moved, the ground has shifted underneath them. I mean, the industry is changing so fast. There's so much competition, and Canada Post can't keep up. And I mean, they're already losing money hand over fist, so paying their postal workers isn't going to solve this problem. I mean, I feel for their employees. Everybody wants a raise, but I think Canada Post has a much bigger issue here.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for sharing all your experiences. We really appreciate that, Morgan.
Yeah, no problem. If I could just take a minute, too, I'd like to actively thank, UPS, Purolator, the guys down at our UPS store in Brandon, the local couriers that are helping us out. They're saving Christmas for us. They're saving Christmas for all our customers. And with all this negative talk about Canada Post, I just think that people should really think and appreciate about the couriers that are picking up the slack.
Okay. Thank you so much, Morgan.
Thanks.
Morgan James is owner of Leatherwood Custom Workwear, which is based in Brandon.
CBC Music Live. Head into the big venues, intimate concert halls, and small stages. Celebrate live music the way it was meant to be. Share in an unmistakable energy of being shoulder to shoulder with music fans and face to face with some of Canada's best musicians.
It's such an honor and a pleasure to play here.
CBC Music Live, brand new season. And catch past episodes right now on CBC Jam.
12:17, you're listening to Radio Noon on CBC Radio 1, 89.3 FM in Winnipeg, 105.3 FM in Dauphin, 12:30 AM in Churchill. I'm Emily Brass, and taking a look at your forecast for today, a mix of sun and clouds with blowing snow, gusts up to 70 kilometers an hour. If you've been out there, you know. The high today is -13. Tonight, clearing, still windy with a low of -19. Tomorrow, a mix of sun and clouds, breezy with a high of -13. For tomorrow night, mainly cloudy with a slight chance of flurries and a low of -15. And then on Friday, mostly cloudy, slight chance of flurries in the morning, then a mix of sun and clouds in the afternoon with a high of -7. On Saturday, mostly sunny with increasing cloudiness in the afternoon. And here's your bright spot, a high of +1. On Sunday, mainly cloudy, good chance of flurries late in the day, high -1. For Monday, mainly cloudy with some periods of light snow. It's going to be breezy again with a high of -6. And then getting a little cooler as we go on next week. On Tuesday, cloudy with sunny breaks, high -9. And then on Wednesday, a mix of sun and clouds with a high of -10. And right now at the Winnipeg Airport, it's -15 with drifting snow. It's 12:18. You're listening to Radio Noon on CBC Radio 1. We're also broadcasting live right now on the CBC Manitoba YouTube channel and on the CBC Listen app. The Taché Fire Department has added a sensory kit to its emergency tools. It's designed to support neurodivergent people on emergency scenes, people diagnosed with sensory disorders, intellectual disabilities, or learning disorders like ADHD, dyslexia, or Tourette syndrome. Alan Rao is the Taché Fire Department's chief. Hi there, Alan.
Hi there.
So what is in the kit?
So what things that we have in the kit is we have some sunglasses for the sensory aspect. We also have ear defenders for those that may not like the loud noises, whether it's tools that we have operating. We have the little fidget things so that they can keep them busy and keep their mind off of the situation at hand. And we have also little placards that for those that may not be able to verbalize, they can point at how they feel, what they're feeling, how things are going with them, so on and so forth.
Yeah, because, I guess there are special challenges for people with sensory disorders at emergency scenes. Can you explain that?
Yes, we actually, the reason this kit came about is our public educator. She heard about this being used in the U.S. at a number of fire departments, and she brought it forward. And we did recently, earlier in the year this year, we did deal with a young child that did have sensory issues who did some stuff that we had to rescue. And we had no means of trying to calm the individual down and to get him to look at us and things of that nature. And this then just fell right hand in hand. It was the perfect fit. And if we ever do need it again, now we have the tools in order to deal with the individual appropriately.
Yeah, and you mentioned like the cards people can point to, the fidget, the fidget toys or whatever they are called. What other kind of things are in there that might be helpful for people?
We've got your tension ball type things. The squeeze toys that you can use if you're getting excited and stuff. You can do that. We've got a notepad where we can just give that to them with a pencil, and that takes their mind off of it by writing things down, jotting, drawing, whatever the case may be. We also have it's not really a puzzle, but it looks like a bunch of dog bones put together, and they're all attached, and you can move that around a little bit. It's like a Rubik's Cube in a way, but it's not a Rubik's Cube. And then also we have a couple like elasticized necklaces that they can pull apart and stretch and reconfigure, things of that nature. It's not a large kit. It's small, but it has the essential tools to keep a person occupied and their mind off of what's going on.
Yeah, I can imagine like you're describing those things. Like when you're nervous, that would help a lot.
Yes.
And then how do first responders know when they should use the stuff in the kit?
That'll be when we arrive. We'll see whether we're advised by somebody that the person has sensory issues. Then we'll grab this thing and we'll employ it. Otherwise, if we do see that a person is having difficulty with the situation, whether they have sensory issues or not, this is also something that can be just given to anybody just to take their mind off it. We also have plush toys that we carry for young children to give that to them to keep their mind off of things. But this is now an activity that we could give to anyone and just keep their mind off, deal with this, concentrate on this, and not what's going on around them.
And how often has it been used already?
It hasn't been used yet. We implemented it 2 weeks ago.
Okay. Interesting. And you talked about like having cards and notebooks. Like why would a notebook be handy for somebody who's in the middle of an emergency scene?
Our understanding is it's just something, again, to keep their mind off of what's going on around them. They can draw, they can just write, they can scribble, whatever the case may be. It's just to get their mind off of what's going on and so they're thinking about something else.
Okay. And how have the first responders been, talking about it? What do they think of the kit?
They engaged 100%. It was presented to the leadership team of the fire department by our public educator, showing us the contents of the kit, how it can be employed. And then we went to the 3 different stations that we have in the arm of Taché. We showed everybody what the kit was, why we're implementing the kit, the benefits of the kit, and everybody was 100% bought into the idea immediately.
Mm-hmm. And we can see how it'd be helpful for the people who need the different things in the kit. How about the first responders? How much does it help them to have something like this that they can offer people?
It's just another great tool in our box that we can use to assist members of our community, and even those that, if it's a vehicle like incident on the number one, to help anybody that's transiting through our community. It's just another thing to help us serve the people that we're here to serve.
And it probably, that way they don't have to worry about the concerns of somebody with neurodivergent issues, or, it doesn't take as much time away from maybe some of the other things they have to do. Like, is it kind of a time management thing too?
Exactly, because we are a volunteer group. We never know how many folks we're going to have at a call. So if we did have somebody that did have the sensory issue requirement that would need to be taken care of, we would have to assign one individual for 100% time with that. Here we can give the tools to the individual. We still can't leave them alone. We got to watch them, but we don't have to put 100% effort at watching them at that moment in time.
And that's probably nicer for that person too, who's going through that, not to have someone just keeping an eye on them the whole time. Yeah, exactly.
Hovering over top, for sure.
Okay. Well, thanks so much for sharing this initiative. It's really interesting. We appreciate your time, Alan.
And I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you very much.
Alan Rao is chief of the Taché Fire Department.
I'm Nala Ayed, host of Ideas. Are there better ways for us to talk to each other? And could that help us build a better society? Novelist and poet Ian Williams wants to start a conversation about conversations. The 2024 CBC Massey Lectures on Ideas, What I Mean to Say, Remaking Conversations in Our Time. Find Ideas wherever you get your favorite podcasts.
12:25, and you're listening to Radio Noon on CBC Radio 1. I'm Emily Brass. With Christmas coming up and Canada Post on strike, you might be seeing more courier vans driving around, dropping off packages. And of course, with everyone's busy lives, plenty of those packages end up being left on doorstops, and that makes them easy pickings for thieves. But there are some things we can all do to try to protect those deliveries. Constable James Cardigan with the Royal Newfoundland Constabulary shares some tips.
Some people have CCTV or doorbell cameras. The apps that come with a lot of doorbell cameras will notify you. Of course, once it's struck, you'll get a notification on your phone. So if you've got a way to get home or have somebody stop by and grab your package so that it's not sitting there for too long. And of course, if you're going to be at work in the daytime when most of these packages are being delivered, it's an idea, of course, to have delivered to your workplace or some place that, somebody will be, whether it's a family member or a neighbor. We have seen situations where we're capturing it on video, whether it be a doorbell camera or otherwise, where the delivery driver, essentially drops off and leaves, and no more than minutes later, there's somebody taking the item. And we've seen this in recent years. So it kind of indicates to us that someone's watching these deliveries, and it's important to consider that these are scenarios we have to really rely on the community and work together. And that includes our delivery drivers, that if you do see something suspicious or something seems odd, report it. We can investigate the criminal activity. And I talked a lot already about video, witnesses, neighbors working together. Anytime we talk about criminal activity, whether it be violent or property related, community collaboration is key. And that is where we see our success in these types of investigations. And of course, we know, all about the social media activity, whether it be Marketplace or other related applications. And, if you're going to be buying from these sites, if the deal seems too good to be true, then sometimes it likely is the case. But, it's important to just do some research and ask the right questions and ensure that, the person that you're purchasing a product from was the actual owner. They have some proof of purchase, or they have some proof that they had once owned this item.
Constable James Cardigan is with the Royal Newfoundland Constabulary.
Honestly, it's been a while since I thought of you. In the end, we didn't talk much. I didn't know what you were going through. I'm sorry that I was
That's Sean Mendez with Heart of Gold. Still to come on Radio Noon. Imagine finding out you have an old pension plan that you haven't claimed. Pension plan administrators are having trouble reaching people with unclaimed benefits. That's according to a new report. Maybe you have an unclaimed pension sitting around somewhere. We'll find out how you can claim it during our call-in conversation coming up after the news, which is next.
This is CBC News. At 12:30, we're at minus 14 with sunny, windy skies over downtown Winnipeg. Good afternoon, I'm Matt Humphrey. The proposed site for Winnipeg's new supervised consumption site is getting the thumbs up from Manitoba's health minister. Health Canada lists 200 Disraeli Freeway as the location that'll be operated by the Aboriginal Health and Wellness Centre. It has yet to be approved and given an exemption to operate. Minister Uzoma Asaguera says it makes sense because there are agencies, healthcare providers, and paramedics operating nearby.
It's right in a part of the city where we know that there are some challenges around homelessness, severe and persistent, maybe substance use, challenges around that. We know that there's community that exists there that really benefits from those services. And so I do think it's important when you stand up a supervised consumption site or any service that's meeting people where they're at, you actually establish it in a place that's meeting people where they're at.
When asked how people living nearby feel about the location being there, Asaguera says people there are open to it and excited to see action finally happening. Winnipeg police have changed their strategy this holiday season to tamp down retail crime. Last year, they ran covert operations. Inspector Jennifer McKinnon says this year, shoppers will see more police officers in malls and big box stores across the city. She says there are many layers to consider when tackling Winnipeg's retail crime epidemic.
Young people who are starting out in retail and this is their first job, and that could be any one of your sons or daughters out there, and you're a parent and you're uncomfortable them going to work because of something that might happen in the store, that's concerning. And as a police service, we're not going to ignore that.
McKinnon says shoppers can expect to see more officers during the busier times from Thursday to Sunday, and Crime Stoppers will also be releasing a list of the city's worst retail thieves. And the province says there are too many for-profit private nursing agencies operating in Manitoba, and it's issuing a request for proposals to help reduce that number. The health minister says there are 70 different agencies with contracts within the health regions. They say with the RFP, only approved agencies will be allowed. Manitoba Nurses Union head Darlene Jackson tracked the amount the province spent on private nursing agencies in the past fiscal year.
$77.5 million, which is 40% more than the previous fiscal year. And from our numbers we're seeing, we're tracking to be even higher than that in this fiscal year. So those numbers are growing every year by absolutely unacceptable percentages.
Jackson says the agencies are making millions of dollars in profit and exacerbating the nursing shortage in the public system. And that's your CBC News from Winnipeg.
Thank you, Matt.
Back soon.
That's Matt Humphrey joining us from the CBC Manitoba newsroom. And joining us now in studio is our weather specialist, Riley Lachuk. What a wind out there today.
Oh, boy. What a day so far.
Yeah, it's like a stinging, biting breeze.
It's that northwesterly wind that is really getting you out there, and especially out on the highways with some of that snow that we've had, to some visibility concerns obviously out there as well. And some lake effect snow, as expected. So we'll get into it. Right now, minus 15 in Winnipeg, a mix of sun and some thin cloud out there right now. Northwest winds sustained at 50, gusting to 61 at the airport this hour. And elsewhere in southern Manitoba, looking at gusts in Portage right now at about 70, 60s through Morden into Sprague. Winds in Brandon right now 30, gusting to about 44 at the moment. So pretty gusty across southern Manitoba, but as expected here in the Red River Valley, we're seeing the brunt of some of those very gusty winds right now. So we have the blowing snow advisory still in place for the city of Winnipeg, the Red River Valley, the southern Interlake. This is because that we will see some visibility concerns continuing throughout the day with some of these very strong winds and some of that fresh snow that we saw over the last 24 hours across the south. Snow squall watch still in place for the lee of both Lake Manitoba and Lake Winnipeg. This includes includes Portage La Prairie, Victoria Beach, Grand Beach, Lac de Bonny, down into the arm of St. Clements. So we could see some lake effect snow, and we're actually seeing some of those little streamers coming off of Lake Manitoba in particular as we've gotten through some of the morning here, in particular around the Portage La Prairie region, St. Francis Xavier picking up a little bit of snow. This is all lake effect kind of rolling off of Lake Manitoba as the cold northwesterly air interacts with water that is still relatively warm around the freezing mark still on the large lakes right now. So that's what's kind of fueling some of this instability rolling off the lakes and giving us some lake effect snow. The rest of southern Manitoba, mix of sun and clouds to a mainly sunny sky at the moment. As expected, we've cleared out quite nicely, and we'll continue to see a mix of sun and clouds throughout the afternoon today with very windy conditions. Tomorrow, I do think that we will start mainly sunny. Some of the forecast models have been introducing a bit of cloud as we get through the day, but we'll see some cloud building in late day Thursday. Good chance we could see a couple of flurries here in the south as we head into Friday morning, but a better chance for that into northern Manitoba. Thompson through the Island Lake region could see some periods of light snow as we get through Thursday into early Friday morning. So just keep that in mind. Winds continue to stay strong, gusting upwards of 70. Could see some gusts up to 80 plus in the Right River Valley this afternoon. In Winnipeg, I've got winds sustained 50 to 70, backing off as we get into the evening hours tonight and certainly into the day tomorrow. So minus 13s today for Winnipeg, Emerson, Pinawa, Gimli, minus 14 degrees. Brandon also minus 13 and a mainly sunny minus 17 in Thompson. There's a warm up on the way. If you're wanting some good news, minus 13 for Thursday, a bit breezy in the morning still tomorrow, minus 7 for Friday. And then we'll see our temperature and our pattern changing quite considerably. Saturday, I've got Winnipeg at +1, a mainly sunny sky.
Gosh.
Clouds start to build in as we get into Sunday ahead of a little bit of instability, some light flurries through later Sunday at -1, and Monday with periods of light snow and -6 degrees.
Sounds like a promising weekend.
Yeah. I think we deserve it.
We do.
After what we've gone through the last couple of days here.
And good timing. It would have been wasted if it had been on a Wednesday and Thursday or something.
Exactly. Although, I was out last evening. It was beautiful.
Oh,
aside from a little bit of mist, I ducked out to get a couple things at the store last night, and it was about -2.
Yeah, and the wind had died down.
Yeah.
You're
and then
right.
after that cold front swept through, it really came down by the time we got to the morning hours today. So
You never know what to wear.
Exactly. Exactly.
Thank you, Riley.
You're welcome.
That's Riley Lachuk, our weather specialist here at CBC Manitoba. He'll be back on our program this afternoon, Up to Speed, and he'll also be on TV doing his forecast on the CBC Winnipeg News at 6. Well, it's 12:37. You're listening to Radio Noon on CBC Radio 1, 89.3 FM in Winnipeg, 95.5 FM in Snow Lake, and 101.5 FM in Grand Rapids. I'm Emily Brass, sitting in as your host today. Well, some folks are lucky enough to have a pension plan, while others might also have pension plans that are forgotten and unclaimed. A new report released by the National Institute on Aging says pension plan administrators are having a tough time finding people entitled to those benefits. The study is called Missing Pension Plan Members in Canada. Judy Shapiro in Calgary found out she had a pension plan she didn't know about. She was clearing out some old mail when she came across a piece of paper with a pension plan number on it. We reached her this morning to find out what happened next.
Hello.
So, Judy, you found this piece of paper. What was on it?
It was just like a statement that said that I had a retirement savings plan with it was a professional association worth $8,000. And I worked under that association sometime in the 1970s, maybe for 2 or 3 years. Totally forgot about it. But I found this piece of paper and I went, I wonder whatever happened to that money. So I emailed and discovered that sure enough, I had an RSP that had been there since the 70s. And this is now 2010. So, 35, 40 years later. It was a lot more money.
So, yeah, it had been collecting interest, I guess, all that time. What goes through your mind when you find out that you had this money you didn't know was there?
I sort of felt like I'd won the lottery. It was like, I was shocked. And I kept asking them, are you sure it's me? Are you sure it's me? Check the social insurance number. And sure enough, it was me. And when I turned 71, I had to turn it into a RIF, which is what happens with RSPs. And I'm getting $650 a month from this pension that, this is not insignificant money. That from this pension that I had totally forgotten about. In fairness to them, I moved several times. I left the country. I left the province. There was no way that they would have been able to track me down.
Right.
And it was just luck that I found this little piece of paper.
Oh my gosh. And so as someone who is now retired, you said you're getting about $650 a month from this. Like, how big of a difference is that making in your life at this point?
It makes a difference. I mean, that's I meant to check, but the old age security is about that much. I mean, I have other pensions. I'm fortunate. I'm one of those lucky people who has enough money to live on in my old age. But I really recommend to everybody to think about all the employers they've ever had in their lives. I mean, most people nowadays don't stick with one employer. You tend to change jobs, and who knows what money you've left behind. Think about places that you've worked that may have had pensions, that you worked for, brief periods of time. For a lot of my life, I was a contract employee, so I didn't have those kinds of pension plans. But if you're on staff in very various organizations, or if you're a member of a union, there might be money left on the table.
That was Judy Shapiro, a retiree who lives in Calgary. And joining us now by Zoom is Doug Chandler. He's an actuary and co-author of the report and an associate fellow at the National Institute on Aging. Do you want to know if you have a missing pension plan that you may be entitled to? Doug is ready to take your calls. So give us a call with your questions. The number's 204-780-0893. Again, you can call us 204-780-0893. Or if text is better, the number to do that is 204-588-7355. That's 205-588-7355 to send a text. Hi there, Doug. How are you?
Hi, Emily. I'm good.
Good. So what did you think when you heard Judy's story?
I wasn't shocked because I knew those sorts of things were out there. The numbers are a little bit bigger than average. A lot of the numbers are smaller than that. But yeah, that's exactly what we're talking about here. Long periods of time, money that's supposed to grow over time, and can be a lot bigger 30 years later than it was when you left.
Yeah. Well, and how big a problem is this, the issue of missing pension plan members?
It's tough to say because Canada has a multi-jurisdictional regime. Different provinces have done different things with this. I can't even tell somebody if they call in who the regulator for their pension plan is because it depends on where the head office is and what industry it is and that sort of thing. The only jurisdiction that has actually, the pension regulator who has actually gone to plan sponsors and said, listen, when you file your annual return, please tell us how many people you have that are missing and how much you owe them. And that is Ontario. And they found most recently that they have about 200,000 missing members in Ontario registered plans. Some of those would be people who worked in Manitoba. And the total amount that's owed is about $3.4 billion.
Oh, my goodness.
So the total for Canada is quite a bit bigger than that, obviously. I can't tell you how much the total is or how much of it's in Manitoba. There's just no way to know the way our system works.
Yeah, but there's money in the system for people. And we have a caller now. Marie joins us now. She had various employers in the late 60s, early 70s, moved multiple times, and is wondering how they might find her. Hi, Marie. Tell us what's going on.
Hi. My question is, yes, how would they find me since I have, moved from, I was not working in Alberta nor BC, but Manitoba, I've worked at various jobs over the years, And I've also left the country, and I even have separated service at CBC over a period of 20 years. So I'm just not certain how I would proceed.
Doug, what could Marie do to maybe track down some of that money that might be there for her?
Probably a lot of those places where she worked didn't have any sort of a pension plan or a retirement savings arrangement, so there's nothing to find. CBC, I know, has a pension plan, and a fairly good one. So she was a regular employee there, getting a T4 from them. Then she has accrued some pension, and it may or may not have been paid out. The first place to go is if you have, the first place to go is your file drawer, because you may have records. You should have received statements while you were working there. If you're a pack rat, you still have records. But if you've been moved as much as she has, probably somewhere along the way, those files got purged. So that's not going to be the answer. The second place to look would be to go to your Revenue Canada online tax account and look at your RRSP contribution balance and the history of it, because the history will show how much you contributed each year, including contributions made through your employer group plan, and how much, this is perhaps more crucial, how much RRSP room was taken away through the form of a pension adjustment because you were a participant in a pension plan that your employer sponsored. That would be a really strong clue that employer had a pension plan and you earned some money with it. If it was a small amount, then the employer, whoever was administering the plan, might have attempted to pay that out at the time you terminated your employment, just mailed you a check or something like that. And a clue to that would be that in that history on your CRA account, there will be what's called a pension adjustment reversal, the difference between what you'd accrued on a defined benefit basis and how much RRSP room they took away. That doesn't help if you were a member of a money purchase plan. It doesn't tell you for sure whether or not they settled up at the time, but it's a place to start. And if you know what year you earned the money, then that you can probably remember who the employer is. And then the next step is to go looking for that employer. Now, over the decades, not only do people move, but companies move. They change names, they merge, and they get different people to administer their pension benefits. So it may be non-trivial to find the employer and to find the administrator of the retirement plan, but if you know who they are, you've got a place to start.
Do you remember the names, Marie, for the different companies?
Yes. May I ask, though, with CBC, I was paid out with pension plan. It was rolled into registered retirement savings because I had had more than 10 years of permanent employment. And I was past 40, or 40. So I'm not sure if at my payout time, whether or not that would have been finalized as the total amount that was really due me.
Well, I can tell you that CBC is still here. So I think that's a good one to start off with. Thank you for your call, Marie.
All righty.
That was Marie giving us a call about possible past pension money that she might still need to connect with. I'm going to give you the call numbers again. Give us a call if you have a question. We're speaking with Doug Chandler, an actuary and co-author of the report that is called Missing Pension Plan Members in Canada. He's ready to take your calls if you have questions on that. The number is 204-780-0893. Again, 204-780-0893. Or you can text at 204-588-7355. So, Doug, what kind of pension plans are we talking about with the unclaimed money? I guess it's mainly private companies, or is it also government pensions? Or
the report is about registered pension plans, normally sponsored by employers or unions. Similar situations arise with group RRSPs and I suppose with the Canada Pension Plan, but that wasn't really the focus of our research. Marie brought up an interesting point, and that is that Today, most pensions vest immediately. So if you work there for a few weeks and you leave, then if there was a pension plan, there would have been some contributions, something to be paid out. In the distant past, they didn't vest immediately. If you didn't work for long enough or stay until you retired, then there wasn't really no pension benefit, or the only benefit was the refund of contributions. But there were some strange rules a long time ago. I'm saying before the 1970s and before, I guess, or maybe I'm not sure about Manitoba rules when they changed over. So there might be people who received a partial payout. So the fact that Marie received a partial payout based on her how old she was and so forth when she left doesn't mean that she isn't still owed something at when she's in retirement. And that's tricky. That's something that it's so long ago that pension administrators may be the ones who forgot too. I mean, I won't say that this is all on plan members to forget to come back. In some cases, over a period of 30 or 40 years, the records get corrupted. And in those cases, unless you've got good records, you're not going to win that one. But
yeah. Some of them probably end up out in the dumpsters in some cases. Yeah, we have another call now. Bill is on the line. He said he had a company he worked for 40 years and another for 3 years. One was federal, the other was private, and he doesn't know whether he paid, and he's wondering if the company might know. Hi, Bill. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, I was just wondering because this is quite a while ago, and I'm just wondering if I don't remember if I was paid out or not. I can't tell you that. So if I contacted the company, they both exist today, would their accounting department know, or who would you ask for to speak to that would have the information?
If it's a registered pension plan, then there's a pension plan administrator. And if it's a group RSP, same thing. There's somebody who administers it. So it would be not the company's accounting department, but the trustee or the administrator for the pension plan who ought to be able to, even after all these years, demonstrate that yes, you were paid. I've been in that situation on the other side of it, and it's a challenge to recall files from archives and start thumbing through them. I wouldn't encourage people to do that for no good reason, but yes, that theoretically that would be the answer, that they should be able to tell you that you were paid out.
Do you know who the pension administrator might have been, Bill?
No, I have no idea. I thought it was handled by the company or somebody within the company.
Somebody within the HR department would be able to tell you who took care of their pension plan when you worked there. Or perhaps that they didn't even have a pension plan.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. Bill, good luck. I hope you find it. Thanks for giving us a call.
Yeah. And again, the first place to start is your own records or the records that the Canada Revenue Agency has kept for you of all the pension contributions that were made and the RSP contributions were made. So that's, as I say, that's a place to start.
Okay. And Bill, I mean, Doug, rather, in which way has this problem maybe gotten worse now that we have an aging population?
It's mostly accumulated over time. Because once the plan administrator makes an initial attempt to find someone and they're unsuccessful, I'm not sure what they're supposed to do next. There are some steps. They can hire a private detective. They can go to the Canada Revenue Agency and say, please send this person a letter and tell them we owe the money. That's not always successful. People get a letter from somebody saying there's somebody who owes you money, please contact them, and they think it's a Nigerian prince or something.
Oh, right.
So the things that plan sponsors and administrators can do to try to find people don't always work. A big part of this problem is people who have died and their estate or their beneficiaries are still owed something from the pension plan, but the people who administer the plan don't know who the beneficiary or the executor is. So they're not only do they not know where they are, they don't know who they're looking for. So it's a challenge for the administrators.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, there's something that members can do from their end, even if they don't have good records on their own. starting with their tax records, or if necessary, just cold calling the company. But that I don't really want to encourage them to put that kind of work on administrators unless they really think there's something out there.
Unless they think there's something there.
Yeah.
Doug, I'm going to give out the numbers one last time in case anyone else wants to call in with questions for you. It's 204-780-0893. That's 204-780-0893. And the number, if you want to text, is 204-588-7355. We're talking with Doug Chandler, an actuary and co-author of a report about missing pensions. He's an associate fellow at the National Institute on Aging as well. So what are some of the solutions? Maybe, like you talked about how cold calling companies is maybe not the best idea. Like, is there just a simple first step to take to just kind of preliminary get some kind of sense of what's going on?
Well, that's what the research report was about, is mostly what can be done from the other end, from the pension industry end. And this isn't just a Canadian problem. This is we see some good solutions in Australia. Although I think they run roughshod over some privacy rules that might not fly in Canada. There's a major investment going on in the UK right now to create a pension dashboard, a single source where you can go and see all of your UK pension benefits, the government-run ones and the private ones that the government supervises, all in one place. Now, they have the advantage that there's only one regulator. They don't have provinces like Canada has. There are solutions in the Netherlands. The US is looking at a solution that if an employer can't find somebody, they can transfer the money to somewhere. None of these solutions are perfect. So really what we're doing is we're trying to open up the problem and say, look, there are different things that people have tried. There are pros and cons to each one. It's more than just group RSPs. It's more than just a defined benefit pension. We have to look at the whole picture and see if we can get everybody engaged in a solution. Like all that money is taxable. So the Canada Revenue Agency should be looking for taxes and all that money too. They shouldn't just be letting it just sit there. And
we're going to have to leave it there, Doug. We appreciate it so much, though. It's very interesting, and thanks for bringing this problem to our attention.
Okay.
Doug Chandler is an actuary and co-author of the report. He's also an associate fellow at the National Institute on Aging, and you can read the full report on their website. That's www.niaging, so that's with an E in there, .ca.
If there's one thing I know about Canadians, it's that we're kind and we want to help.
All it takes is one can, $1.
Or even an hour of your time.
This winter, help us to make the season kind. Find ways to give to food banks in your community at cbc.ca/kind.
Just a few minutes ahead of 1 o'clock, you're listening to Radio Noon on CBC Radio 1. And joining us now is the host of Up to Speed, which comes on the air at 3 o'clock, Faith Fundal. Hi there.
Emily, dozens of people signed up to speak at City Hall about a proposal to lower the speed limit on Wellington Crescent. We're going to hear from one of those folks who signed up. And I don't know about you, but some folks are concerned maybe about a January credit card hangover. Sometimes keeping costs down just isn't enough to balance the budget. So we're going to talk to CBC Money columnist Bruce Ellery as some folks pursue a so-called side hustle for a bit of breathing room. So stay tuned for that conversation, still to come.
That's one way to fund the holiday bills, I guess, a little side hustle. What would your side hustle be if you could?
I wish I could sing for a living. That would be fun.
Oh, well, you definitely can sing, but yeah, maybe put out a little cup next time. I was thinking the same thing. Maybe I would play my sax. We'll get together. We'll make a duo, Faith.
We'll start a band. That's it. We'll do it.
Thank you. That's Faith Fundal, the host of Up to Speed, which will be on the air this afternoon at 3 p.m. Well, thanks to everybody who helped put together the show. Producer Wendy Parker, our technician May McKillop, and our show director Sierra Sanders. Kevin Nipatebo was producing our CBC Manitoba YouTube channel. I'm Emily Brass, sitting in as your host today, and Corey Funk will be with you tomorrow. And coming up on CBC Radio 1 is Writers and Company. Hope you have a great afternoon.